Another story I wanted to get into relating to this democracy, the issues in democracy that a citizenry has to deal with, is the Potash story. So who's familiar with the recent BHP bid for Potash Corp? I heard about that in the news, right? There's a big stink about it. Brad Wall, the premier of Saskatchewan, made an articulate case against it, and essentially the story is essentially BHP came in as a mining company from Australia. They bid to buy Potash Corp. They wanted to buy this company, and the government stepped in and they said that it didn't meet the net benefit in Canada standard, and so they said, no, you can't buy Potash Corp. And part of the reason why the federal government did that is from pressure of losing a lot of their seats in Saskatchewan, because Brad Wall, the premier of Saskatchewan, did a big campaign against this takeover, and said, if we'll lose jobs, it's a strategic resource, we'll lose control, all these sorts of things. Population was with him, and at the end of the day, the federal government said, okay, we're not going to pass this deal. That's the story that most of us have heard. There's a little bit more to the story, which is interesting. I want to share with you today. So the potash industry is very unique in that it's probably the most concentrated resource industry in the world. So in comparison, another cartel that you're probably familiar with is OPEC. OPEC is made up of 12 countries, and it controls less than 50% of the oil market. So 12 companies, 50%. In potash, we have essentially 2 companies that are controlling about 70% of the market. So much more concentration, much more control over price. The 2 companies are Canpotex and Belarusian potash company. I want to talk about Canpotex. So Canpotex is owned, it's a private company owned by these 3 producers, Agrium, Potash, and Mosaic. These are the 3 big Canadian producers of potash. And they all market their potash through Canpotex. Now when BHP came in and made this offer to buy one of the 3, which is Potash Corp, the middle one there, on the left-hand side, they said, we're not going to use Canpotex to market the potash. We're going to market the potash through our own company chains. We're a big mining integrated company. We can market it ourselves. We don't need anything to do with Canpotex. So essentially, what the end result would be of that situation is not 2 major distributors of potash. You'd have 3. You would essentially break the duopoly and have 3 major producers. And what would that mean for consumers? What would that mean for producers? Well, for producers, for folks like Mosaic, Potash, and Agrium, it means they lose a lot of their profit because they have less control over prices. Right? Prices of potash will come down to more competition in the industry, and they have lower profits. Right now, some of the most profitable industries are these companies. Their profit margins are astronomical because of the fact that they have so much control over price, which is pretty unique in a resource economy. Usually you don't. Usually you're a price taker. You sell whatever price the market gives you. The other person who loses is the Saskatchewan government. The Saskatchewan government has a very price-sensitive royalty, so they make a lot more money as the potash prices are higher. Who loses? Well, potash is a component in the production of fertilizer, key component. Fertilizer is a key component in food production. Food prices go up. Who gets hurt the hardest by high food prices? The poor. The poorest people in society get hurt the hardest. So essentially what's happening here is you have, like oftentimes politicians will say, is you have big producers, you have government winning, and poor people and consumers losing. And that's due to the fact that the government of Canada stepped in and said, no to this deal. Now, to be clear, the deal was very low. They bid $130 a share. Currently, the price is around $180. At the time, it was around $100. It was a ridiculously low offer, and it would never have been passed by the shareholders anyway. So it's a bit of a hypothetical reason why the government got involved anyway. But the question remains, should the government have got involved if it was $300 a share? Would that have been justified for government intervention? And my opinion is, most of the time the government gets involved in these sorts of things, most of the time it's to defend a monopoly or to try to impose that monopoly, and often industry and government work hand in hand in order to do that, unfortunately.